I want to begin the discussion on the government of the New Age by talking about the principle of liberty. The principle of liberty is the main principle of the constitution of the New Age, and coincidentally, it is also the main principle of the Federation of Light. Alright, the principle of liberty basically states that we shall all be free to do whatever we like as long as we do nothing which harms or imposes upon others. Alright, the idea is that everyone should be free to follow his own path of growth and without hurting others and without worrying about others hurting him. Alright? Now, although there is all kinds of bylaws that deal only with local matters in the regional level, town level, village, neighborhood level, all that, the main body of legislation debates and formulates laws in the regional level. Alright, it is there where the national legislator debates and formulates legislation which is then submitted to the national constitutional executive for verification and ratification, and finally it goes to the world constitutional executive. There again it verifies and makes sure that it's aligned with the constitution and with the main principle of liberty. Alright? Now each region has up to 10 political representatives that their job is to make sure that there is constant contact between the citizens and the central government. But they are not really the main issue. The main way in which people are being represented is through the membership of one or many special interest societies. Alright, that's how people are being part of the main legislation that's going on. Alright, those special interest societies could be any type of society, any group of people that share a similar interest and want to be represented in the legislative process. Now, I want to be clear that those societies are not meant to be pressure groups, and their object is not to push their own agenda onto others, obviously, because that would be in contradiction to the principle of liberty. Their own point is to ensure that every viewpoint is considered and that all viable expertise is brought to bear. Alright? Another thing I want to mention is that the natural environment, Mother Earth, is also represented in the legislative process, and there is a council that represents Mother Earth. Alright, and make sure that's also the similar thing of the principle of liberty. They make sure that Mother Earth, free will, and what Mother Earth wants to do is not being imposed by humanity in a similar way that it's happening in our society. Every time, again, I want to remind you that Mother Earth is a consciousness. It's called Gaia. It's a conscience. So every time they want to use the natural resources of Mother Earth, or they want to maybe create a new tunnel, a new mine, change the damming of the waterways or whatever, they consult with the planetary being, with Mother Earth. Alright? In a similar fashion, the animal kingdom and the mineral kingdom also are being represented by council in those legislative proceedings in order to make sure that also their interests are being represented and their liberties are not being hurt, and that everyone enjoys the principle of liberty, which is the main fundamental principle of legislation and of society in general. Alright, so after a legislative proposal has been thoroughly debated and all sides have been heard, a draft law will be formulated by a professional legislative service. Alright, this is a bit different than the way it is done in our world. Alright, this is a group of professionals, of people from the academia that create the law after all sides have debated it. Alright, and again, afterwards, this draft of the law has been examined by a constitutional executive in the national level and in the world level. All right. I also want to point out that also the government, similar to any other business, the government is equally subject to national and world standards in every aspect of what it's doing, and it's required to produce quarterly performance audits, and the payment of the government employees is also subject to the standard payment system, and there are no special benefits, and there's no, I don't know, whatever, special gifts or whatever for people that are working government. So the government is much, much thinner than our current governments, because our current governments do a lot more and are much more, include many people and all of that. And when the government is much thinner, by the way that I described, it means that not a lot of money needs to go to the government, and this means that less taxes needs to be paid. So when people of the new age pay taxes, they pay less taxes than we pay today, and those taxes are being actually used to do all the things that we talked about, the transportation system, the administrative system, to pay for loans for businesses, etc. But still, it's much, much less than the amount of money needed for our current government in the world that we live today.